Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story? I have come here on your platform and I want to give you my own story, not because I regret the things that I did. I am not confessing because I feel guilty because of the things that I did. But my ex-husband, he forced me to do what I did. I never envisioned myself ever consulting with a witch or consulting with a witch doctor. But after he had done things to me, things that were really terrible, I then sought consultation with this witch. This was after my mom had also felt the pain of what my ex-husband had done to me. She was the one who went and spoke with this lady. She's quite an old lady. Even when we were growing up in the village, we used to call her Granny the Witch, Granny the Witch. After I had told my mom what my ex-husband had done to me, she then went and she spoke with this lady that we used to call Granny the Old Witch, and she said that she was willing to help me out. So me and my ex-husband, we met. This was when he had came to Zim. When he had came to Zim, he was looking for this other girl. They had met online and they had started dating online, but what he didn't know was that this girl was a prostitute. So he then came to Zim, and whilst he was looking for this girl, he was then told by the taxi driver that this long distance lover of his was nothing but a prostitute. She was selling in a beer hall as well as selling her body as well. So after he had heard that this online lover of his was nothing but a prostitute, that was when he decided to return back to his own village. But what happened was that he then lost his bag that had the money that he wanted to use as transport money. So that is how I ended up meeting him. When I met with him, he was looking for a place to stay, and I ended up showing him this other guest house, and we exchanged our numbers. After we had exchanged our numbers, that was when we continued talking until he had returned back to South Africa. And when he returned back to South Africa, he then told me that he wanted me to come and join him up there in South Africa. I was free at that time. I then chose to come and join him in South Africa. All the pictures that he had been sending me, like on WhatsApp, they had truly stolen my heart. This guy, I thought that the life that he was living in South Africa was a lifestyle that is being lived by rich people. But to my surprise, when I rejoined with him in South Africa, I found out that this man was living in abject poverty. He had no blankets, no TV, nothing. He was just suffering. And the money that he was earning, because he was working as a gardener for this other white man, and the money that he was being paid, it was just peanuts. For us to buy even a bed, it took us the whole year for us to just buy a bed. So when I saw that the life that he was living, it was a life filled with poverty, I then spoke with him and I said, how about we raise some money so that you can get a driver's license? Once you have gotten yourself a driver's license and a passport, maybe you can find a job as a driver. And he said that this was really great, and I gave him that idea to upgrade his own life, because I didn't want a man who was poor as he was. So I said that it is far much better that I upgrade this man that God had given me. So in the meantime, I had found a job. This was next door. So the money that I was earning, I would come back with that money and would place that money in a single spot, and I would make him to keep that money, since we were saving money for him to return back home so that he can get a driver's license. I then found out that this man, he didn't even have a birth certificate. He had never ever had a birth certificate in his life. Therefore, he didn't have an ID. He was just a human being that was just surviving here on earth. I struggled for him to have all of these things. We went back home after we had raised enough money, first we went and we spoke with his father's relatives. All of them, they were not willing to assist him so that he can get a birth certificate. We then went and we spoke with his uncle. This was my idea, who was his mother's brother, and through him, that is when he was able to get a birth certificate. We still had to pay him because he said that he needed to pay him with a got, and we then took some money and we paid him the money that he wanted, and we bought the got for him, and that is how he got that birth certificate and the ID. I encouraged him to get the passport as well as the learner's license, and from there on we returned back home. And when we had raised more money, he then returned back to Zim, and this time around, my brother, when he went to collect his license, he went in an area that is called Chiredzi. Whilst he was there, what I didn't know is that he had fallen in love with this other young woman, because I was not able to conceive for him. So when he met this young lady, then they started dating, and he was doing all of these things in secret, and I kept on upgrading him. The day that I saw that he was now a changed man, it was the day that when he got his passport, he thought that he was now untouchable. Previously, when I was still staying with him, he was even afraid to go to town because he was afraid of getting arrested since he didn't have a passport. Now that he had a passport, he felt like South Africa was his. He was untouchable. Whenever we were at home, he would just go out and he would not tell me where he was going to, and we started fighting because of these things that he was doing. One day when we had a very big fight, we then went to bed like always. So in the middle of the night, when I woke up, I then found out that the door was not locked. So I thought that maybe he had gone to the toilet. I waited for him to return back into the house, and he did not return back. I then went outside like a fool, my brother. I started looking for him, but he was already gone. I walked throughout the night and I was really stressed out about him, but he was gone. It was only after he had found a job, he was now working as a truck driver. That is when he contacted me. He started sending me some pictures showing me that he was now living a good life as a truck driver. I was really hurt simply because I knew that I had assisted him and I was desperate. What this man did was that he then started taking me and he would travel with me, making me to sleep with him, and he would say that you are the one who made me to have all of these things that I have. If it was not for you, I was never going to be a truck driver. Therefore, I want to give you the full respect. I want you to be my first wife. And when I heard that, he now had another woman whom he was staying with. He said, do not mind about her, because when she found me, you had already assisted me. So I want you to become my first wife. I was so desperate, and at the same time, I was staying with another man, because at that place where I had found him working, when he ran away, I was scared that the white man will think that maybe me and my ex-husband, we had planned this thing out. After he had gotten his license, I had told him to run away so that he can look for a better job. So I just left, my brother. I left everything that I had worked hard for. I only took few of my clothes and I went into that location where I ended up staying with my current husband. This was out of desperation. After this, my brother, when I saw that this man was just using me, I then decided to let him go, as painful as it was. Then when my mother heard about this story, my mother was really hurt, because when we had traveled to Zim at that time, when we were trying to have him get a birth certificate, my mom said that even though he has not yet come to marry you in our traditional way, but what I am going to do is that I am going to allow you both to come and stay. Since you do not have any way to stay, you can come and stay at my house, even though according to our culture it is a taboo for a man to go and stay with his mother-in-law before he would have paid the bride price. But my mom felt sorry for us, and my mom saw that we wanted to achieve something in life. That is why she had decided to assist us. And when my mom heard that this is what this guy had done, she was really had. And then my mom went and spoke with that witch, and that old lady that we used to call old witch, she then agreed to assist me. We then went to this other tree that is used to communicate with our ancestors in our country. They call it Mohacha tree. And when we were at that tree, I was made to communicate with my ancestors. This was after this old witch had communicated with her ancestors first, and she taught me how to communicate with my ancestors as well. And I told my ancestors the thing that had happened between me and my ex-husband, and I told my ancestors to communicate with my ex-husband's ancestors as well. And after that, I was then told that I had to hit the tree with my breast. So I removed my breast and I started hitting the tree with my breast as I was telling my ancestors about the way that I had suffered at the time when I had met this man, when he didn't have anything. Now that he was a truck driver, he was actually making me to look like a fool. So I was just reminding them to sort him out in the spiritual realm. My brother, I then returned back home, and this man, from that time that I performed this ritual, he has suffered so much. I don't know how many companies he has worked for, like your trucking companies that he has worked for, and each and every time he is always fired, and he has never done anything with the money that he has been given as he is working as a truck driver. The last time that I heard was that the white man that he was working for, who was a truck owner, just removed him from the truck and said, "Get off my truck," and that is how he was fired. And I know that it is because of the rituals that I did. This man is suffering. As for that woman, the one whom he thought was going to be his wife, then what she did is that she then started dating his own best friend, and currently I heard that she is actually staying with his best friend, and she ran away from him. The last time that I saw him, he was really embarrassed when we suddenly came across each other, and I greeted him because I wanted him to see that now I am someone that is far much better than him. I am married. I am happily married. Even at the time when I was in pain, the time when I went to do these rituals, I had gone back home with my current husband for the introductions, and I am so glad that the rituals ended up working, because what he thought was going to happen to me, it is what ended up happening to him. And I am so glad that the God that is worshipped by my mother is a God that made it possible for me to achieve my desire. I wanted to see him suffer, and he is going to suffer. And the reason as to why he is going to suffer forever, it is because whilst we were at that holy tree, then that witch gave me some sticks, these sticks that looks like nails, even though they are like wooden nails. I was told that I had to hit them into the ground. So after hitting them into the ground, that witch then told me that as long as those wooden nails that we had hit into the ground, then that witch said that as long as those wooden nails that we placed into the ground, as long as they are there, he is still going to suffer. As long as they are not removed, this man is going to suffer for the rest of his life. And I know that he is going to suffer as long as those wooden nails are still in the ground at that place where I went to communicate with my ancestors. And I do not feel any guilt about the thing that I did. Oh, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sisters, and I had to give you this narration of that translation.